Everybody online keeps screaming that one little bump totals a Tesla and that BYD batteries are bulletproof. I have taken both apart in my own bay with my own hands. Both of those things are backwards. And that is the least surprising part of where these two actually stand in 2026. Let me start with the scoreboard because that is what people argue about most and what I care about least. For the first 3 months of 2026, Tesla did edge ahead on pure electric cars. Around 358,000 for Tesla, around 310,000 for BYD. Yes, technically Tesla won that round, but back up 1 year. Across all of 2025, BYD sold about 2.25 million pure electric cars. Tesla sold around 1.6 million. That is a gap of more than 500,000 cars, and BYD won the whole year for the first time ever. And that is only the electric side of the lot. Count the plug-in hybrids too, and BYD moved over 4.5 million vehicles last year. So when one guy tells you BYD is crushing Tesla and another guy tells you Tesla just beat BYD, they are both right, and they are both holding the same calculator upside down. One is counting a single quarter, the other is counting the whole season. But nobody waving that Tesla win around mentioned what came next. BYD did not slip because Tesla outbuilt them. BYD slipped because at home in China, a price war turned into a street fight. The government pulled back subsidies, a new tax landed, and every Chinese brand started knifing each other on price. BYD's own chairman called it a knockout stage and said the rivalry had hit fever pitch. Their share of their home market fell from around 27% down to about 17% in a matter of months. So yes, Tesla took that quarter. BYD was busy bleeding in a brawl on the other side of the world. That is not the same as losing a fair fight. Either way, a sales chart has never once rolled into my shop on a flatbed. So let me show you what these companies really look like with the panels off, because that is where this stops being close. Start with how BYD is even built as a company. People picture BYD as a car brand that came out of nowhere a few years ago. It did not. It started back in 1995 making batteries for cell phones. The cars came much later. Today, BYD makes its own batteries, its own power chips, its own motors, and it digs a lot of its own raw material out of mines it owns outright. It even builds its own cargo ships to haul the cars overseas. From the mine to the port, it owns the chain. You want to know why that matters in the real world? During the chip shortage a few years back, Ford and General Motors were parking half-finished trucks in fields, waiting on parts that never came. BYD barely blinked because it made its own chips. That is the part that should keep Detroit up at night, and in my opinion, it is a bigger deal than any single model on their lot. But building a car cheap is one thing, building a car that lasts is another, and that is where this teardown gets interesting. Then there is the teardown that really got my attention. An American engineering outfit bought one of those tiny $11,500 BYD city cars, the Seagull, fully expecting to find a rolling tin can. Their lead engineer, a guy who spent decades inside the big American factories, took it apart and basically said this thing does not come across as cheap. They found smart little cost tricks everywhere. One front wiper instead of two, to delete an entire motor and arm. Welds clean enough that they skipped the cover panel. Nothing flashy, just relentless. Their verdict was that an American plant could not build the same car for anywhere near that money. But cheap to build means nothing if the thing falls apart in 3 years. So is it junk? To answer that, we have to talk about the battery, and this is where the whole story flips on everybody. The heart of a BYD is the blade battery, and the chemistry is lithium iron phosphate, what the nerds call LFP. Here is the test that sold me on it. There is a brutal safety test where they drive a steel nail straight through a fully charged battery to force a short circuit. The older chemistry in a lot of cars lights right off and rockets past 900 degrees into open flame. They ran that same nail through a blade pack and the surface barely got warm. They crushed one under a truck heavier than 40 tons. They baked one in a furnace and massively overcharged another, and still got no fire. And in early 2026, they rolled out Blade 2.0, which charges even faster and still shrugs off that nail after hundreds of fast charges. Now flip over to Tesla. For years, the story has been that Tesla is the battery king. They spent 5 years and billions of dollars building their own cell, the one they call the 4680. And after all that, word this spring is their own cell. Still cannot beat the batteries Tesla buys from outside, on range or charging speed. Some buyers over in Europe started canceling orders because the range came in lower than the brochure promised. The company everyone calls the battery king is still buying its best batteries from somebody else. So far, the scoreboard and the spec sheets are all pointing one way. Now let me flip the whole thing over because this is what I warned you about up top, and I want the angry comments under this video, so do not hold back. You have heard it 100 times. Tesla started casting the entire back half of the car as one giant piece of aluminum, and every channel screamed that one little parking lot tap would total your car because you cannot fix a casting. I believed a version of that myself for a while. Then a big crash repair research group over in the United Kingdom spent 2 years smashing them up with real insurance crash data behind it. And what they found did not match the panic at all. At low speed, the cast rear took no real damage. When you did have to replace part of that casting, the piece itself was cheap, and a partial repair on the Tesla came out cheaper than fixing the old multi-piece steel rear end on an earlier Model 3. Tesla had quietly started shipping those cast pieces to body shops at cost. Let me give you a real one from my own bay. A Model Y came in last year, rear-ended hard in a parking lot, and the owner walked in already grieving, dead sure it was a write-off, because that is what the internet had told him. It was not. The repair came in well under what he braced for, and a big chunk of that was Tesla making the parts cheap and easy to get. So that giga-casting horror story everybody repeats is way overblown. Now for the part that is going to sting, that magic blade pack, the one that survives the nail in the truck, a teardown crew that has pulled apart more than 20 different battery packs called the single hardest one they have ever had to take apart. The cells are glued straight into the structure of the car with industrial adhesive. They had to freeze the entire pack for nearly 2 full days just to separate it. And what that means in your driveway is simple and ugly. If one cell goes bad after a wreck, you may be replacing the whole pack because you cannot cleanly pull the bad part out. So the repair nightmare everybody pins on Tesla is, in 2026, arguably worse on the car people keep calling the giant killer. That is my read, and you can fight me on it below. And while we are on Tesla build quality, let me be fair about both ends of it. The new ones are actually solid now. The latest big reliability rankings just bumped Tesla into the top 10 brands, and the Model Y got named the most reliable new electric car you can buy. But the same rankings had Tesla's own 5 to 10-year-old cars ranked dead last of every brand on the road, and the Cybertruck scoring below average, which says a lot about how rough those early builds really were. The Cybertruck even had a recall where the stainless panels down the side were peeling loose and flying off on the highway because the glue let go. A theme keeps showing up with Tesla, and it is shortcuts in how the thing is stuck together. Now let me back up and give BYD its flowers, because the top of their lineup is seriously wild. There is a luxury brand under BYD called Yangwang. One of their big trucks, the U8, can spin a full circle right where it sits, like it is parked on a turntable, and it can float in water for a half hour if you drive it straight into a lake. Their hypercar, the U9, set a top speed record north of 300 miles an hour. In 20 years of turning wrenches, I have fixed some strange machines, but I have never once had to ask a customer whether their SUV is rated to float. That is where China is now. But here is the cold water, and if you are actually thinking of buying one, this is the bit to lock in on. Can your local shop even get parts for it? Over in Australia, where BYD has been selling hard, owners have been waiting months for basic parts. One owner got their car bought back after it sat unrepaired for close to a year. There was a failure on the BYD truck over there, a little electronics box that knocked out the navigation, the updates, and the phone app across a huge share of those trucks all at once. BYD's own boss in that market got up and admitted, in plain words, "We have work to do on parts and service. I am not going to pretend Tesla is a saint here." I did a whole video a while back on Tesla service centers holding cars hostage for weeks over a simple fix, and that is a real headache too. But a brand new player asking you to wait 3 months for a bumper on a car you cannot get serviced down the street, that is a different kind of risk, and you deserve to know about it before you sign anything. So is Tesla just cooked? No, far from it. And if I only beat up on Tesla for 15 minutes straight, I would be doing the same lazy thing those headlines do. Tesla still wins real things. The Model 3 is lighter and squeezes more miles out of its battery than the comparable BYD Seal, so it is more efficient and sharper to drive. Tesla's software still feels a generation ahead, the updates land smoother, and the driver assist is more polished in day-to-day driving. BYD's answer to that is interesting though, and it is the kind of move that gets my respect. They put their advanced driver assist, the one they call God's Eye, free across almost the entire lineup on millions of cars at once, while Tesla still charges a small fortune for the good version. BYD even said they would cover the cost if the car causes an accident while that system is steering, which is the exact opposite of Tesla telling you the driver is always responsible. But rolling that out to millions of cars overnight surfaced the cracks fast. One of those 6-figure floating Yangwang trucks reportedly took off and sped up on its own on a highway. BYD is moving fast and breaking things, and sometimes the thing breaking is your nerves. The one Tesla advantage I would not give up, though, is charging. Tesla has tens of thousands of charging stalls that just work, with uptime so high you almost never roll up to a dead one. BYD has a megawatt charger that can, in theory, fill a car in about 5 minutes, which sounds like it ends the whole argument. But today that only exists in China. It usually needs 2 cables plugged into the same car to hit that headline number, and the local power grid often cannot even feed it that hard. On a real road trip, in the real world, the boring, reliable Tesla network still wins. You guys keep asking me which one I would actually put my own money on, and that charging gap is a big reason the answer is not as simple as a sales chart makes it look. And money matters, so let me put it plain. Where these two go head to head, the BYD usually undercuts the Tesla by a serious margin and throws in a longer warranty on top. Tesla's big counter this year was a cheaper Model Y for just under $40,000, but that is not the affordable car they kept promising. It is a regular Model Y with stuff stripped out of it. A smaller battery, less glass, a cheaper interior for only a few grand off the normal one. Across the world, BYD is the one selling a real car for the price of a loaded golf cart. There is one catch on that cheap pricing though. A car that gets discounted this hard when it is new tends to crater in value when you go to sell it used. So some of what looks like a screaming deal up front quietly comes back out of your pocket on the trade-in. But here is the thing that turns this whole comparison into a trap. Tesla has basically stopped trying to win the car fight, and the pattern is hard to miss. 2 straight years of falling deliveries and their sales over in Europe got cut roughly in half. The people running the company do not seem bothered by any of it because their whole bet has moved somewhere else. They have got driverless robo-taxis running in Austin, Dallas, and Houston, a humanoid robot in the works, and a giant energy business on the side. Even the money guys on Wall Street are saying it out loud that Tesla is throwing its car business overboard on purpose to chase a self-driving future. So when somebody asks who wins, BYD or Tesla in 2026, they are quietly comparing two different things. One company is trying to build the best car in your driveway. The other one would rather you never own a car at all and just summon one when you need it. As cars you buy, park, fix, and keep, BYD's lead is not close. As a bet on what a car even is in 10 years, that is a completely different fight. So here is where I land. If you are buying a machine to own, to fix in your own driveway, to keep for 10 years, the hardware war is basically over, and BYD won it. A wall of tariffs is about the only thing keeping it out of more American garages. If you are buying a ticket to a robot-driven future, that is Tesla's whole game, and BYD is not even playing it. Different buyers, different cars, same strange year. And before you put a single dollar down on any of this, do not click off yet, because I already ran the numbers you are about to need. I ranked every Tesla model by what it truly costs to own once you add up all the boring stuff nobody warns you about, and a couple of those results flat out shocked me. The one you would assume is the cheapest to live with is not even close. That ranking is on the screen right now. Go find out where your Tesla lands before it costs you.